Hello friends, Richie here, and today I want to expand on my last video, and I called it anti-reactionaryism. So there is some humor in this game, and anti-reactionaryism is a funny kind of a concept. You know, the stuff that passes as thinking in this society is of a very low standard, if you ask me. What I've been practicing is, I call it thinking from source, or 0 point. And you know, if you do this, and you can do this consciously, you go beyond the reactionary ideas that are out there. And I have some shocking news for you about these reactionary ideas, is that they're generated by means of technology. And who's behind it? Who's behind this thought control? And here's another shocker: it's the Irish fairies. Now the fairies, right, they're not of Earth. They came here in spaceships, I've read, but I've also channeled some information about these guys. Give me a second while I recall. You know, I'll come back to that later. But yeah, so the fairies, they're also known as the Dracos, short for draconian. So called because they come from an area in our galaxy known as Alpha Draconis. So they've been here, I read again, they've been here over 100,000 years. It all goes back to Atlantis. Apparently they got to some of the high priests, and they did have some technology that was of interest to men in the time of Atlantis. But anyway, so these draconians, they pose as men. They're amongst us. You know, very, very, very closely knit with mankind. David Icke tells us, and David Icke is this great guy, he tells us about 5% of the population are of this heritage. You know, the main difference between us and them is men, we're linked to the earth. The Dracos, the Irish fairies, they're linked to planet Saturn. Yeah, so what else can I tell you? You know, I had a ton of stuff yesterday, and I shot a video. It didn't come out, there were some technical problems, but I spoke about the thought control, thinking from source. And yeah, this stuff, these ideas that I speak of, they're being generated by radio technology. You know, if you Google HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, you'll find out that men, our ideas, our thoughts are being manipulated by radio technology. And of course they'll tell you that this is a classic case of delusion. You know, the mental health people, they're very, very busy, and what they're trying to do, they're trying to stop something like an evolution in consciousness. So yeah, we're bombarded by this radio thought control, and as well as being able to manipulate thoughts, this radio, it can also manipulate weather, cyclones, also geothermal activity, volcanoes, earthquakes. So what's going on? It's a very advanced technological project on Earth. Now, my understanding is that the war will be over soon, and I'm told we're winning the war, men. But yeah, we don't plan to eliminate the Draconians. You know, my understanding is that they did create mankind, you know, again by means of technology like genetic engineering. So yeah, there is a compromise to be struck in the war. But yeah, so yesterday when I shot my video, I had some extra stuff, you know, I've forgotten it. Right, so planet Saturn, the moon of course, and the moon matrix. This may be of interest, that our world is an illusion. And of course, if you go back into the ancient writings, the Buddhists will tell you all about the illusion, you know. So the Matrix, it's been around for a long time. The Vedic literature, India, ancient stuff, before Hinduism even, you know, they tell stories of spacemen, flying machines. And again, I'm not sure, but I'm quite sure, as Buddhism originated from Hinduism, that they speak of the illusion. Right, so how do you get out of the Matrix? Well, if you go into the countryside, it's like halfway between the Matrix and the real world, because the real world is the surface. Something I touched on yesterday in the video that didn't come out is that mankind, us, believe it or not, we're underground. We're in an underground base, all mixed up with this Matrix, as we call it. So if you come out to an area such as this in the countryside, the Matrix is a mirror of the surface, and you can find yourself on the surface. I've been there, and you know, some guys that I knew, that I'm involved with in the war, they tell me that the actual year is so in the construct it's 2019. In the Matrix, sorry, in the on the surface, it's the year 1810. So yeah, the Matrix is set in the future. You know, I'll probably wrap it up at this point. You know, the war, it's ongoing. Get involved. You know, there is something to fight for. So signing off, Richie.